My husband officially files for divorce, and my 7-year-old daughter asks the judge, "Your Honor, may I show you something my mother knows nothing about?" The judge then nodded. As the recording began, the entire room was stunned into utter silence. Can you imagine your entire world crumbling around you, not because of some natural disaster, but because the man you loved, the father of your child, suddenly decided to shred your life into pieces? My husband sued me for divorce, accusing me of being a failed mother, a failed wife, and then he demanded everything. Our home, our money, even custody of our little girl. But then, right there in that sterile courtroom, just as I thought all hope was lost, I heard a small voice cut through the silence. My 7-year-old daughter, Zaria, asked the judge, "Your Honor, can I show you something my mommy doesn't know?" What the hell happened next? You won't believe it. It started like any other morning. The first rays of dawn were just touching our kitchen, already filled with the quiet hum of the washing machine and the faint, comforting aroma of breakfast. I moved like a ghost through my own home, a skill I'd perfected over years. My goal? To make absolutely no noise, to avoid disturbing my husband, Tmain. Precisely at 6 a.m., he'd descend the stairs, immaculate, sharp. The moment I heard him, a steaming mug of black coffee and a hot breakfast plate would materialize on the table. He'd sit, take the mug, his eyes already glued to his phone. "The coffee is a little bitter today," he'd drone, never looking up. "I'm sorry, honey. I thought I measured it right this time." I'd whisper back, my voice barely there. He wouldn't reply. Just push the plate away, eat a few bites in silence. I'd stand there, awkwardly, waiting for an order, a glance, anything. But there was nothing. Just this dense, cold silence that seemed to freeze the steam rising from his coffee. I couldn't even remember the last time we'd shared a breakfast filled with laughter. It must have been years ago, before his late nights and longer business trips became our new normal. "Is Zaria up?" he finally asked, still not looking at me. "Yes, honey. She's showering. She'll be down soon." And sure enough, the patter of small feet soon echoed down the stairs. Zaria, our precious 7-year-old, burst into the kitchen in her neat private school uniform, her smile a dazzling contrast to the morning's chill. "Good morning, Mommy and Daddy." She'd kiss my cheek, then head straight for Tmain. He'd finally put down his phone, a slight, almost forced smile touching his lips for her. "Good morning, princess. Finish your food. Daddy will take you to school." A wave of relief washed over me. At least in front of Zaria, he made an effort. This brief breakfast hour was the only family time we had. As soon as Zaria finished, Tmain would grab his briefcase, kiss her forehead, and leave. He'd walk past me as if I wasn't even there. No goodbye, no kiss, not even a glance. Just the roar of his luxury car pulling away, leaving me utterly alone in our vast, silent house. I'd spend the rest of the morning in my familiar routine, clearing, washing, tidying. I kept our home perfect. I believed, naively, that if the house was clean enough, if the food was delicious enough, if I was quiet enough, maybe the old Tmain would come back. But the old Tmain, he left a long time ago. My favorite part of the day was picking Zaria up from school. I loved listening to her chatter, her bright voice filling the car. "Mommy, today I got 5 gold stars." I answered the question right, she chirped, holding my hand. Wow, my daughter is so smart. I genuinely congratulate her, pinching her little nose. We arrived home, and as I helped Zaria with her shoes, I heard the rumble of a motorcycle. A courier shouted my name, "Nala, package for you." I frowned. I hadn't ordered anything. I walked to the door, took the thick brown envelope. No sender name, just a law firm's logo. My heart started to pound a sick, irregular rhythm. "Who is it, Mommy?" Zaria asked, having followed me. "I don't know, princess. Probably just junk mail." "Go change, then we'll have lunch," I said, forcing my voice to be steady. After Zaria ran off, I collapsed onto the sofa. My hands trembled as I ripped open the envelope. A thick stack of papers. The very first sentence, it stole my breath. Petition for dissolution of marriage. My world stopped. My ears rang. I reread the words, praying my eyes had deceived me. Plaintiff, Tmain. Defendant, Nala. Reason: the wife has totally failed in the fulfillment of her marital duties. Failed? Nauseous, I crumpled. I'd given my life to this house, given up my career at his request, raised our daughter, made sure his shirts were spotless. What did he mean, failed? I kept reading, my eyes blurring at the cruel demands. He wasn't just asking for divorce. He wanted full custody of Zaria, claiming I was emotionally unstable and incapable. And the most devastating blow, he demanded all marital assets, even our house, arguing I hadn't contributed financially, that everything was solely his effort. I fell weakly to the cold hardwood floor, papers scattering around me. So that's why he'd been so cold. This had been a secret plan, hatched behind my back. The front door opened. Tmain. He was home unusually early. He stood there, looking at me, slumped on the floor, then at the scattered papers. His expression was utterly cold, devoid of any guilt. Honey, what does this mean? My voice trembled, tears already streaming. Tmain silently took off his shoes, walked over, loosening his tie. He didn't deny it, didn't explain. He just said, coldly, it is exactly what you read. I don't want to live with you anymore, Nala. You have failed. You have failed as a wife and as a mother. Failed? I wailed in disbelief. I've taken care of this house. I've raised Zaria. Taking care of the house, he scoffed, disdain dripping from his words. The only thing you've done is spend my money. Zaria needs a better mother. A competent one. Not someone who only knows how to cry and complain like you. But all the property, this house, and Zaria? Honey, you can't take them from me. I began to scream hysterically. Tmain crouched down, his face a mask of sharp, cold hatred I'd never seen before. I can. And I will. My lawyer has all the evidence gathered. You won't get anything, Nala. You will leave this house without a single dollar. He stood, smoothed his suit, glancing towards the stairs to make sure Zaria couldn't hear. Then he grinned, a chilling smile that froze my blood. And get ready. My lawyer says even your own daughter will testify in court about how incompetent you are as a mother. I froze, terror gripping me. My heart shattered into a million pieces. He didn't just want to divorce me, he wanted to destroy me completely. I didn't sleep that night. After our cruel confrontation, Tmain had retreated to the guest room, locking the door as if I were a threat. I spent the night in Zaria's room, sitting in the chair by her bed, watching her peaceful, sleeping face. My tears wouldn't stop. How could Tmain say Zaria would testify against me? Zaria was everything. What could he have told my little girl? That thought tormented me more than any other accusation. The next morning, Tmain acted as if nothing had happened. He woke Zaria, prepared her uniform, took her to school. He didn't speak a word to me. When Zaria asked why Mommy had puffy eyes, he answered with indifference, Mommy isn't feeling very well, princess. After they left, true terror set in. I had to fight. I couldn't give up Zaria. I grabbed my phone, frantically searched for divorce lawyers. But the harsh reality hit me hard. Lawyers needed money. A retainer. A consultation fee. I had no money. For years, Tmain had given me a monthly allowance, budgeted precisely for groceries and Zaria's school. No room to save. My only hope was our joint account, the one I thought was our family emergency fund. With trembling hands, I opened the banking app. My heart hammered as I typed the password. When the balance appeared, my legs gave out. 0. It couldn't be. There should be hundreds of thousands in there. I refreshed the screen again and again, hoping for a system error. But the number 0 stared back, mocking me. I opened the transaction history. My eyes widened in horror. Over the last 6 months, Tmain had systematically withdrawn large amounts, transferring them to an account I didn't know. The last withdrawal, just 3 days ago, had emptied the rest. He'd planned this. He wasn't just leaving, he had deliberately crippled me financially so I couldn't fight back. I cried in despair. How could I hire a lawyer without a single dollar? I remembered my wedding jewelry. I ran to my room, opened my jewelry box. Empty. Only a few imitation trinkets remained. He'd taken even my heirlooms. In my desperation, I remembered an old friend who worked at a legal aid agency. I called her, telling her everything through sobs. She pitied me but couldn't do much, except give me a name, Attorney Abernathy. He has a small office on the second floor of an old strip mall. He's not expensive, but he's honest and dedicated. Go see him. Explain your situation. Maybe he can help. I had no other choice. With the last few dollars in my purse, I hailed a cab. Attorney Abernathy's office was exactly as described: small, modest, peeling paint. He was a middle-aged black man with thick glasses and a calm demeanor. He listened patiently, taking notes, only nodding occasionally. When I finished, he let out a long sigh. Nala, this is going to be an uphill battle. Your husband has prepared all of this very thoroughly. He doesn't just want a divorce. He wants to destroy you. I know, attorney. But I don't care about the properties. I just want Zaria. Please help me. I don't have money now, but I will pay you. In installments. I'll do anything. I pleaded desperately. Attorney Abernathy looked at me for a moment. Let's leave the money issue for later, Nala. What's important now is we have to move fast. This lawsuit has already been filed. We have to prepare a response immediately. He asked me to wait, left the room, and returned minutes later with a folder full of photocopies. The lawsuit documents. Your husband's lawyer is Attorney Cromwell. He's known for being sharp and not hesitating to use dirty tactics. He opened the folder. The first page, photographs. My stomach dropped. Photos of the interior of my house. Dirty dishes piled high. The living room cluttered with toys. Dirty clothes in the laundry basket. But this is unfair. I protested. These are photos he took when I was sick. I had a high fever for 3 days, and Tmain didn't help at all. He took them on purpose. Attorney Abernathy's expression was bitter. Nala, I'm afraid this is manipulated to make it look like you're a lazy person who doesn't maintain the house. We turned the pages. Credit card statements. A list of charges for luxury handbags, jewelry, expensive restaurants. Things I'd never bought. That's not me. I didn't buy these things. Was it an additional card in your name? He asked. Yes. Tmain managed it. He told me to use it if I needed to, but he took it often, saying his main card had exceeded the limit. Oh my God. He set me up. The world spun. Every small kindness from Tmain, every excuse, it was all part of his evil plan. Then, Abernathy stopped at a thick document. And this is the most damaging thing, Nala. What is it, attorney? It's the testimony of an expert witness, a child psychologist. He handed me the report, written in cold, clinical terms. It claimed a psychologist had conducted covert observations of my interactions with Zaria. The conclusion? I was emotionally unstable, neglected her needs, and was a detrimental mother to Zaria's psychological development. The report recommended full custody for Tmain. This makes no sense. When was this observation done? I never met a psychologist. My voice shook violently. According to this report, the observation was conducted in public places, at the park, the mall, when you picked up your daughter from school. That's crazy. Zaria always seemed happy with me. This is defamation. Who is this psychologist? Abernathy flipped to the cover. Her name is Dr. Valencia. She seems very professional and convincing. He looked at me seriously. Nala, do you know this woman? I shook my head, bewildered, tears falling again. No, attorney. I don't know her. I've never seen her in my life. Living under the same roof with the man who planned to destroy me became a silent hell. Tmain hadn't left. He'd just moved into the guest room. Our once warm house felt like a frozen battlefield, emotional landmines hidden everywhere. I had to live with my enemy, see him every morning, pretend everything was normal for Zaria. Tmain played his role perfectly in front of her. He was the best father in the world. He'd come home earlier, something he hadn't done in months. He brought expensive gifts. One night, a huge box with a cartoon princess. "This is your new tablet, Zaria," he exclaimed, hugging her tight. Much better than the old one. Better camera, lots of games. Zaria's eyes shone. Wow, thanks, Daddy. I, folding laundry nearby, could only swallow hard, my heart aching. I knew what he was doing. He was buying her loyalty. I couldn't compete. I didn't have $1 to buy her anything. You see, Princess, Tmain said, looking at me with a sneer as he turned on the tablet. When you live with Daddy later, you'll get a new toy every week. Unlike someone who only knows how to fold clothes. My hands froze. A knot tightened in my chest. I wanted to scream, to insult him, but I couldn't in front of Zaria. If I got angry, it would only prove his accusation that I was emotionally unstable. So, I just kept folding, head bowed, letting his poison fill the room. The terror continued daily. Tmain systematically undermined my authority. If I cooked dinner, he'd taste it in front of Zaria and say, "Honey, the soup's a little salty again." "It's okay, tomorrow we'll order takeout." If I helped Zaria with homework, he'd interrupt. "Let me do it. The way mommy teaches you is too complicated. You'll get confused." I felt smaller, more invisible. I started to doubt myself. Did I really cook badly? Was I incapable of teaching my daughter? Tmain played his role too well, making me seem inept. Zaria, caught in the middle, began showing confusion. She clearly loved me, but she also basked in her father's attention and gifts. Sometimes she'd cling to me, seeking protection, but other times she seemed uncomfortable, especially after Tmain whispered something to her. One night, unable to sleep, I walked silently to Zaria's room. She was sleeping soundly. On her desk sat the new tablet Tmain had bought. But as I leaned in to tuck her in, I saw something strange. Her small hand was clutching something under her pillow. Not her teddy bear. I looked closer. My heart skipped a beat. It was her old tablet. The cheap one with the screen cracked in several places. The one I always told her not to play with, fearing the glass pieces might hurt her. I frowned. Why keep this broken tablet? Why hide it when the new one was right there? I didn't understand. I just thought it was a child's attachment to an old toy. I didn't know that broken tablet held a secret that was about to change everything. I went back to my room, my mind even more confused. The climax happened a few days later. I was waiting for Zaria to come home from school. I'd promised to bake her favorite chocolate cake. But an hour after dismissal, she wasn't there. I called the school. They said Tmain had picked her up. My heart sank. He hadn't told me anything. I called him repeatedly, no answer. 2 hours. 3 hours. I was frantic with worry, pacing, tears streaming. It wasn't until 9 p.m. that I heard his car. Zaria burst in, laughing, carrying a huge bag of amusement park souvenirs. Behind her, Tmain walked calmly, a smirk on his face. "Where have you been, honey? Why did you take Zaria without telling me?" I was dying of worry. I cried, my voice thick with tears and rage. "Daddy took me to Wonderland Park, Mommy. It was so much fun," Zaria exclaimed happily. Tmain looked at me coldly. "So what? I'm her father. I have the right to take my own daughter. Besides, you weren't doing anything at home. But you should have told me. So you could ruin our fun with your drama?" Then I smelled it. A woman's perfume. A soft, unfamiliar scent clinging to Tmain's shirt. Not mine, not his cologne. "Honey, you." He followed my gaze. He knew I'd smelled it. He didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled. He waited for Zaria to run to her room to put away her new toys. Alone, he approached me. His face was inches from mine, his voice a low, venomous hiss. "Did you notice? Did you really think I was going to live forever with a woman as boring as you? You are nothing compared to her." I gasped, taking a step back, struggling for air. There was another woman. All of this, all the accusations, nothing more than an attempt to get rid of me, to be with her. "Who is she?" I whispered. "None of your business. She is a successful, intelligent woman who knows how to please a man. Unlike you." That night, Zaria came to my room. "Mommy, why are you crying?" I wiped my tears instantly. "I'm okay, princess. My head just hurts a little." Zaria looked at me with an expression hard to decipher. "Are you really sick, Mommy? Daddy says that since you are sick, you are often sad and angry. Daddy said that if I go live with him later, Mommy will be able to rest and get better." My heart shattered. Tmain had been injecting poison into my little girl's mind. He had manipulated Zaria into believing leaving me was an act of kindness. I hugged Zaria tight. "Zaria, listen to me. I am not sick. I just love you so much. I promise I won't get angry anymore. But the damage was already done. I saw hesitation in her eyes. Tmain, listening from the doorway, only sneered in the darkness. He walked past me, gave a little tap on my shoulder, feigning sympathy. "Enjoy your time," he mocked in a low voice in my ear. "Soon she won't even want to call you Mom." The mediation hearing was a cruel joke. In a small, stuffy room, the court-appointed mediator tried to find common ground. Attorney Abernathy began, his voice calm. "Tmain, Nala doesn't ask for much. She only wants custody of Zaria, or at least shared custody. Regarding property, we can talk about it." Before he could finish, Attorney Cromwell, Tmain's expensive lawyer, interrupted sharply. "There is nothing to talk about." He slammed his file on the table. "Our client's position is clear. Nala is the failed party in this marriage. It has been proven she has failed in maintaining the home and raising the child. Our client demands full custody for Zaria's future." Tmain sat beside him, his face blank, as if he were the victim. "I only want the best for my daughter," he said with fake sadness. I trembled. Attorney Cromwell chuckled. "Nala, if you keep insisting, we will take this to trial. And I assure you, all the evidence we have will humiliate you. The photos, the credit card statements, the expert testimony. You had better sign this agreement. Our client is being benevolent by allowing you to leave the house without any countersuit." "Leave my house with nothing? And without Zaria? Are you crazy?" I screamed. The mediator tried to intervene, but Tmain and his lawyer were inflexible. The mediation broke down completely. Attorney Abernathy patted my shoulder as we left. "Stay strong, Nala. The real fight begins now." The first day of trial approached. I had a knot in my stomach. Abernathy reminded me to keep calm at all costs. The courtroom was cold, intimidating. Tmain sat opposite, confident, with Attorney Cromwell. The trial began. Attorney Cromwell spoke fluently, his voice loud and sure. He presented his version of events. He showed the photos of the messy house, calling me a lazy, dirty housewife. He showed the credit card statements, accusing me of being wasteful and financially irresponsible. "Your Honor," he said dramatically, "while my client, Tmain, worked hard to earn money, his wife was at home wasting it, neglecting her daughter and her home." I wanted to scream, to tell them it was all a lie, that Tmain had set me up, but I could only clasp my hands under the table. Attorney Abernathy stopped me with a reassuring look. When it was Abernathy's turn, he tried to refute. He explained the photos were out of context, that the credit cards had been used by Tmain himself. But his argument sounded weak. It was my word against the physical evidence. The judge took notes, his expression unreadable. Then came the moment I feared most. "The plaintiff calls as expert witness," Attorney Cromwell announced. "Dr. Valencia, child psychologist." The courtroom door opened. A woman entered. I held my breath. She was beautiful, elegant. Her hair pulled back, a professional blazer, a confident stride. She didn't look evil at all. She looked convincing. As she took her oath, I smelled it. The same perfume. The same fragrance that had clung to Tmain's shirt that night. My heart stopped. It was her. Tmain's mistress. And she was posing as a child psychologist. Valencia sat in the witness box. She spoke calmly, her diction clear, using psychological terms that sounded very professional. "Yes, Your Honor," she began, answering Cromwell's question. "I conducted observations of the natural behavior of Mrs. Nala and her daughter, Zaria, over the last 3 months." "And what were your findings, Doctor?" "My findings were very concerning. I found a pattern of behavior in Mrs. Nala that tends to be inconsistent and emotionally volatile. There are signs of significant emotional distress." She began to detail the lies, one by one, turning facts into deadly weapons. First observation. At a shopping mall, Mrs. Nala pulled Zaria forcefully, speaking to her loudly, which made Zaria cry in fear in front of people. This shows a low capacity for emotional regulation. I closed my eyes. I remembered that day. Zaria had almost thrown herself toward a moving escalator. I'd shouted and pulled her back in shock. "Zaria, be careful." I wasn't angry. I was terrified she'd get hurt. But Valencia had twisted it into verbal abuse. Second observation. In a park, Valencia continued. Mrs. Nala seemed to be more absorbed in her phone, ignoring Zaria, who was playing alone. When Zaria fell, Mrs. Nala didn't notice immediately. When she did, her reaction was exaggerated and tended toward hysteria, which further traumatized Zaria about the fall. Another lie. I remembered texting about the grocery list Tmain had demanded. Zaria had tripped, and I'd been genuinely scared. I ran immediately, hugged her, consoled her. My reaction was that of a concerned mother, not a hysterical one. My conclusion, Valencia said, staring at the judge with a steady voice, is that Mrs. Nala does not have the stable emotional capacity to raise a 7-year-old girl. There are strong signs of parentification syndrome, where Mrs. Nala subconsciously projects her own unhappiness and emotional problems onto the child. For Zaria's mental health, I strongly recommend full custody for the father, Mr. Tmain, who is the more stable figure. The room fell silent. Her testimony was powerful, scientific, destructive. I cried silently. It's a lie, I whispered to Attorney Abernathy. It's all a lie. She is Tmain's mistress. It's her. Calm down, Nala, he replied tensely. Don't react. That's what they want. Attorney Abernathy stood for cross-examination. He tried. Dr. Valencia, are you sure you can make such a serious diagnosis based solely on distance observations? Valencia smiled slightly. On the contrary, counselor, natural observations without the subject being aware are the most accurate. There is no manipulation. It is pure, real behavior. You were paid by Mr. Tmain for this testimony, isn't that right? I was paid for my professional services, counselor, not for my conclusions. My conclusions are objective and based on data from the field, she retorted cleverly. Abernathy was at a dead end. She had dodged too well. Covered all the holes. The trial adjourned for the day. I left, my legs shaking. Destroyed. I saw Tmain smiling slightly, nodding to Valencia with a look of satisfaction. In the lobby, I leaned against the wall and sobbed. We lost, attorney. We lost. They have everything. Abernathy was silent for a moment. Then he stared at Tmain and Valencia, who were walking together in the distance, discreetly separated, but not entirely far apart. Not yet, Nala, he said in a low voice, eyes narrowed. I know something is wrong. The way she looks at him when she thinks no one sees her, it's not the way a professional psychologist looks at a client. He turned to me. We have to find out who she really is. A few days before the next hearing, Attorney Abernathy called me to his office. His face looked tired. The stack of papers on his desk was thicker than ever. Nala. I tried to trace the woman's background. He was blunt. The result is different from what we expected. My heart raced. What do you mean, attorney? Her credentials are clean. Too clean, he said, rubbing the bridge of his nose. She's registered with the Psychological Association. She has a registered practice clinic. All the documentation is perfect. Either she's a real psychologist Tmain hired to lie for money, or Tmain forged this entire identity very cleanly. The truth is, we cannot attack her by accusing her of being a fake psychologist. The court would dismiss our claim immediately. The brief hope I'd held vanished. So we can't prove she's lying? No. We simply can't prove she isn't a psychologist. The only way is to refute her testimony. And that means you have to testify, Nala. He looked at me seriously. You have to tell your whole side of the story. About the photos, the credit cards, Tmain's behavior. And most importantly, you must not get emotionally upset. Attorney Cromwell will definitely try to provoke you. He will want you to look hysterical in front of the judge, exactly as Valencia described you. I nodded silently. I will do it, attorney. I will try. The day arrived. It was my turn on the witness stand. After being sworn in, Attorney Abernathy began with gentle questions, guiding me to tell of my life as a housewife. I explained, trying to remain as calm as possible, how I left my job for Zaria, my routine from dawn to late night. About the photos of the messy house, Nala, can you explain the context? He asked. Yes, attorney. Those photos were taken by Tmain about 2 months ago. I was severely ill with a high fever for 3 days. At that time, I could barely get out of bed. I asked Tmain to take care of the household, but he said he was too busy with work, so the house got very messy. I didn't have the energy to clean. And about the credit card statements? It was an additional card in my name, but Tmain had it more frequently. He said his main card often reached its limit with business matters. I believed him. I never bought those luxury bags or that jewelry. I didn't know about those charges until I saw them in the lawsuit documents. I said everything with honesty. I saw whispers in the gallery, some sympathetic glances, but the judge remained silent, his face unreadable. Then came Attorney Cromwell. The cunning lawyer stood, smoothed his tie, and approached the witness stand with a sneer. "Nala," he began in a sickly sweet tone. "So you mean to say that your husband, Mr. Tmain, who works hard and brings money home, set you up on purpose? Is that it?" I stammered. "I didn't say that. I just said what happened. But that sounds like the husband takes photos of the dirty house. The husband uses the credit card. Everything is the husband's fault. It seems that you are not to blame for anything. Are you perfect?" "Of course not. I'm not perfect, but I'm not a failure." "Not a failure?" Cromwell scoffed. "Nala, you said you were sick when those photos were taken. Do you have any medical report proving you were gravely ill for 3 days?" I remained silent. "I didn't go to the hospital. I just took medicine from the pharmacy. I thought I would recover. So there is no proof?" Cromwell attacked quickly. "It's just your word against real photographic evidence." "Interesting." He moved to the credit cards. "You say your husband used them, but the card is in your name. Did you ever inform the bank that the card was being misused?" "No." "Did you ever reprimand your husband?" "No." "You said nothing. Doesn't this prove you are negligent and financially irresponsible? Or does it mean you approved all the purchases?" "I trusted him. He was my husband." My voice rose. "Blind trust," snapped Cromwell. "A trust that ruined the family finances. And now you blame your husband." "I am not blaming, enough." Attorney Cromwell raised his hand, returned to his table, and picked up a large printed photo. He held it up for the judge and everyone to see. "Your Honor, I request permission to present Exhibit P12. My eyes widened in horror. It was a photo of me, in my bedroom, a few weeks before the divorce papers arrived. Hair disheveled, crying and screaming. "Mrs. Nala, can you explain this photo?" he asked with a triumphant tone. I trembled violently. Tears welled up again. "Isn't this real proof of what Dr. Valencia said? Volatile emotions? Hysteria? Is this the face of a competent mother? You don't understand." I wailed, tears pouring down my face. That night Tmain had just come home. He called me a useless wife. He said I was a burden. He insulted me. He said I didn't deserve to be Zaria's mother. He provoked me. "So, you admit it?" Cromwell attacked without letting me breathe. "You admit you screamed hysterically? You admit you lost control? You are emotionally volatile. Exactly as Dr. Valencia described, right?" "No," I shouted. I stood up from my chair. "He set me up. He took the photo of me in secret after hurting me. He is a devil." "Enough." The judge's gavel struck hard. "Witness, calm down. Sit down." I sobbed, my shoulders shaking. I slumped back into my chair, utterly destroyed. Everything destroyed. I had behaved exactly as Tmain and Attorney Cromwell wanted. I looked hysterical, unstable, the image of the failed mother they had fabricated. I looked toward Tmain. He had his head bowed, making a fake grimace of sadness, as if hurt by my instability. Attorney Cromwell smiled smugly. The judge slowly shook his head. His expression was clear. He had already taken a side. That day's trial ended with total destruction for my side. Attorney Abernathy tried to console me, but I felt numb. "It's over, attorney," I whispered weakly. That night was the longest of my life. The sentencing hearing was scheduled for the next day. I knew I was going to lose. I was going to lose Zaria. I went into Zaria's room. She was already asleep. Tmain wasn't home, probably celebrating his victory with Valencia in advance. I sat at the foot of her bed, stroking her hair, my tears falling silently onto her cheek. She stirred a little. "Mommy?" She opened her eyes, half asleep. "Shoo. Go back to sleep, princess," I whispered, my voice raw from crying. I hugged her tight, maybe for the last time as a full mother. I want you to know, whatever happens tomorrow, Mommy loves you very much. Always. Sensing my sadness, Zaria hugged me back tightly. I love you too, Mommy. I slowly undid the hug. It was then I saw it again. The corner of the old, cracked tablet sticking out from under Zaria's pillow. She was clutching it tightly, even in her sleep. I couldn't understand why she was so obsessed with that broken object. But that night, I was too destroyed to think deeper about it. I simply kissed my daughter's forehead and left to face the end of my world. The courtroom was colder than usual. The morning air, heavy and suffocating. I sat rigidly in my chair, eyes puffy and empty. I hadn't slept all night. Beside me, Attorney Abernathy stared ahead with a somber expression. He knew he'd done everything possible, but like me, we faced a giant wall. The atmosphere on the opposite side was different. Tmain looked fresh, confident in a new suit. He smiled occasionally, exchanged quiet jokes with Attorney Cromwell. Victory was before his eyes. In the gallery, I saw Valencia, elegantly dressed in cream, looking at me with a barely visible, victorious smile. The judge entered. The room instantly fell silent. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. In the matter of the divorce petition, registry number, family court case number, the judge began formally. Today's subject is the reading of the verdict, but before that, both parties are requested to present their closing arguments. Attorney Cromwell stood first, summarizing his victory skillfully. Your Honor, he said loudly, during this trial, we have seen irrefutable evidence. The photographic proof showing Mrs. Nala's neglect of household tasks, the financial proof showing her irresponsibility, and most importantly, the testimony of the eminent child psychologist, Dr. Valencia, who objectively and scientifically presented the defendant's emotional instability. Cromwell pointed at me. We even witnessed Mrs. Nala's hysterical conduct in this courtroom during the last trial, which supports Dr. Valencia's diagnosis and is clearly recorded. He turned toward Tmain. On the other hand, we have Mr. Tmain, a capable father, financially successful and above all, emotionally stable and genuinely concerned for his daughter's future. Your Honor, the choice here is very clear. It is not about punishing the wife, but about saving the child. For Zaria's best interest, I beg you to grant full custody to our client, Mr. Tmain, and approve his request for division of assets. Cromwell sat down with a smug smile. Now it was Attorney Abernathy's turn. He stood slowly, looked around the room, not at the judge directly. Your Honor, he began, his voice soft but firm. What we have witnessed here is not proof. It is character assassination. A very well-planned defamation. Photos can lie. One can take a photo of the best chef's kitchen at the wrong moment and make it look dirty. Statements can be manipulated, especially when one party has total financial control and the trust of the other. And the expert testimony. The testimony of an expert who only observed from a distance and drew radical conclusions from a few fragments of incidents out of context. Is that stronger than the deep maternal love a mother has accumulated over 7 years? Abernathy looked directly at Tmain. Your Honor, we are not saving a girl. We are witnessing a greedy husband try to get rid of his wife, steal her assets, and cruelly take away the only thing most precious to her, her daughter. Nala is a good mother. His voice trembled slightly with emotion. She is not perfect. No mother is. But she has dedicated her life to Zaria. Do not allow this well-woven defamation to destroy that bond. I beg you to judge with conscience. Abernathy sat down. The room was silent. His argument had been excellent, emotional, but I knew it wasn't enough. His argument was based on belief. Cromwell's was based on physical evidence and expert testimony. In the eyes of the law, the winner was already obvious. The judge cleared his throat, put on his glasses, and opened a thick file. This was the moment. Having reviewed all documents from both parties, heard all testimonies, and considered all evidence presented, he began, his tone expressionless. My heart shrank. The court notes that the plaintiff, Mr. Tmain, has been successful in presenting significant evidence. The judge continued. I lowered my head, closed my eyes. First, the visual evidence. That is, the photographs demonstrated the negligence of the defendant, Mrs. Nalla, in household management. Second, the financial evidence demonstrated a considerable spending imbalance on the credit card in the defendant's name. Every sentence was a knife cutting me. And most damaging, the judge said, his voice sounding definitive, is the testimony of the expert witness, Dr. Valencia, regarding Mrs. Nalla's emotional state. This testimony was unfortunately reinforced by the defendant's own conduct in the last trial, providing the court with a very troubling image of the psychological environment for the child's growth. I began to cry silently. It was over. Tmain looked at me, a slight, cruel smile of victory appearing at the corner of his mouth. Valencia, behind him, sat up straighter, ready to applaud. With all considerations mentioned above, and especially for the best interest and mental health of the minor's area, the judge raised his gavel, and I closed my eyes, ready to hear the sentence that would destroy my life. The court rules, stop. The voice was small, but it cut through the silence of the courtroom. It was sharp and clear. Everyone turned their heads in unison toward the sound. In the slightly open door at the back of the room stood Zaria. Alone. Still in her school uniform. She had obviously snuck in. Tmain's face went from arrogance to shock and pure panic. Zaria, what are you doing here? Get out of here, he shouted. Guard. Zaria. Sit down, princess. Tmain tried again, his voice tense, but Zaria didn't move. She walked into the courtroom, the sound of her small steps echoing on the marble floor. She didn't look at me, astonished with my mouth open. She didn't look at her furious father. She looked directly at the judge. The room, which had been silent awaiting the sentence, was now frozen. The gavel, about to fall, stopped midair. The judge's eyes widened, staring at the little girl. I turned, my heart falling out of my chest. Zaria, I whispered in disbelief. What was she doing here? Who brought her? Tmain's reaction was the fastest. His face, moments before full of triumph, was now pale, bloodless. Pure terror in his eyes. Zaria, he yelled, his voice rising, stripped of calm. What are you doing here? Get out of here. This isn't a playground. Guard. How can a child enter? Zaria shrank at his scream, but she didn't back down. Instead, she walked deeper into the room. Zaria, Daddy said, turn around and sit down. Tmain shouted again, now half standing. Attorney Cromwell was bewildered, too. He stood, shouting at the judge. Your Honor, this is a procedural outrage. This trial is confidential. A minor should not be here. Order your staff to remove the child. I was still frozen. Confused. A part of me shattered that Zaria was in this horrible place. The other part trembled with fear. What was Zaria going to say? Had Tmain succeeded in poisoning her completely? Would she tell the judge she preferred her father? The thought made me nauseous. Your Honor, Attorney Abernathy's voice rang out suddenly, stopping Cromwell. This child has come with an obvious purpose. This is about her future. We cannot ignore her. The judge raised his hand. His face was grave. Silence, everyone. His voice echoed. He stared at Tmain and Cromwell, silencing their protests. Then his gaze turned to Zaria. His expression softened. Zaria approached slowly, her small steps echoing loudly. She stopped in the center, between the lawyers' tables. She looked directly at the judge. Your Honor, Zaria said, her voice trembling, but clear to the whole room. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's okay, Princess, the judge said, his tone more paternal. Why are you here? Who brought you? I came alone. My auntie brought me, but I snuck in. I heard my daddy say my mommy is bad. Tmain's eyes went wide. Zaria, watch your words. Silence, Mr. Tmain, shouted the judge. Let the child speak. I covered my mouth, tears flowing. Zaria swallowed, as if gathering courage. She looked at the judge again, her pure, clear eyes showing sincerity. Daddy said my mommy is bad. Daddy said my mommy gets very angry. Daddy said my mommy can't take care of me, she continued, her voice shaking slightly. I closed my eyes. This was the end. She was going to repeat all of Tmain's lies. But then, a sentence made me open my eyes. But Can I show you something? Zaria looked at the judge with pleading eyes. Something my mommy doesn't know. That phrase hung in the air. Something my mommy doesn't know. I frowned. What did she mean? Attorney Cromwell jumped up again. Your Honor, this is absurd. A recording from a child cannot be used as evidence. This is an invasion of privacy, recorded without permission. That recording proves the lies of your expert witness, Attorney Cromwell. Abernathy retorted sharply. This is very intriguing. Enough arguing. The judge banged his gavel. His eyes, previously paternal, now shone intensely. He sensed a big lie. Clerk, help this child. Connect that device to the court monitors right now. No. Tmain screamed desperately, gripping the table with white knuckles. I object, Your Honor. This is a setup. Your objection is noted, Mr. Tmain. Now, sit down, the judge ordered. A clerk approached Zaria quickly, carefully took the cracked tablet. He found a cable and moments later, the large monitor screens on the courtroom wall went black, then showed Zaria's tablet home screen. Tmain covered his face. Valencia behind him seemed to shake violently. Zaria, standing next to the clerk, looked at the screen. She didn't look at me or Tmain. She was focused on her mission. This one, she pointed to a video file in the gallery. The clerk clicked. A video thumbnail appeared. Go ahead, princess, the judge said. Play the video. Zaria stretched out her small index finger. She pressed the play button. The video started. The large monitor flickered. The shot was shaky, tilted, from a low angle, as if recorded from behind something. A quiet laugh was heard. It's our living room, I whispered, recognizing the sofa and the large plant pot in the corner. The video seemed taken from behind that pot, where Zaria often hid while playing hide-and-seek. Then, two figures entered the frame. Tmain and Valencia. Not Valencia in a professional blazer like in court, but Valencia in fine, comfortable loungewear. Her hair was down. Tmain entered laughing and immediately hugged Valencia from behind, kissing her on the neck. Oh my God! A muffled exclamation rippled through the room. I froze, breath caught in my throat. So the perfume, my suspicions, everything was true. The woman who gave false testimony to ruin me was the same one sleeping with my husband in my house. Attorney Cromwell stared at the monitor, mouth agape. He turned to Tmain with horror, as if saying, You never told me this. In the gallery, Valencia lowered her head, trying to hide her face. Then, the voices of the figures in the video were heard clearly in the silence. Valencia's voice, Are you sure your plan will work? Your wife is so stupid. Tmain's voice, laughing with certainty, stupid and submissive. She won't suspect anything. All the money has already been transferred to your account, baby. My legs failed. My money. Our joint account. Transferred to Valencia's account. Oh, God, Attorney Abernathy murmured beside me, his eyes fixed on the screen. The video continued. Tmain sat on the sofa, pulling Valencia onto his lap. Tmain's voice, Once the verdict comes out tomorrow, I will officially get custody of Zaria. We will sell this house from hell immediately and move to Switzerland, far away from her. Valencia's voice, But Zaria seems very attached to her mother. This was the part that hurt me the most. I held my breath, waiting for Tmain's answer. Tmain's voice disdainful, Oh, the kid is easy to handle. Just give her a new tablet and she'll forget her mother. You will be her new mother. A smarter, more successful, and much sexier mother. Tmain kissed Valencia passionately in the video. Enough. Turn it off. Tmain screamed in rage. He jumped from his chair, trying to run toward the clerk's table to stop the video. Officers. Restrain him, shouted the judge, his voice vibrating with anger. The two security guards moved immediately, overpowering Tmain, bending his arms behind his back. Tmain twisted like an animal in a trap. Let me go. It's not true. It's manipulated, he screamed desperately. Silence him, the judge ordered. Continue the video. I want to see it to the end. The video continued playing, oblivious to the chaos. Now it was Valencia's turn to speak. Valencia's voice, I'm still a little worried. What about my testimony as a psychologist? What if Nala's lawyer refutes it with his observations? Tmain's voice, laughing again, I already prepared. I recorded her last week when she cried hysterically. Remember, I will provoke her again at the trial. I will insult her until she explodes. She will scream and cry. In front of the judge. I sobbed. I remembered my testimony, the photo, my screams. He set me up. Tmane's voice. Once she gets hysterical, your testimony will seem perfect. The judge will see for himself that she is an unstable, crazy woman. No one will believe her. They will believe Dr. Valencia, the professional. The video finally showed Tmane and Valencia toasting with wine glasses, laughing. Then it ended. The screen went black. The room remained silent for a few seconds. The only sounds were my sobs and Tmane's panting breath under the guard's control. Everyone in the room, the judge, the clerks, the gallery, even Attorney Cromwell, stared at the black screen with horror. They had just witnessed a very well-planned, evil conspiracy. Fraud, perjury, money laundering, and manipulation of the court. In the gallery, some people began to turn their heads, looking for Valencia. There she is. It's the woman, someone shouted. Valencia realized she was completely exposed. In panic, she jumped from her seat and ran toward the back exit. Zaria, the little heroine who had just played the video, turned her head. She didn't look at Tmane, who was subdued. She looked at me. Her pure eyes met mine, filled with tears. The judge, face red with rage, raised his gavel high. He didn't drop it in silence. He banged it hard on the desk. Silence, everyone. The court resumes. Officers, close all exits. No one leaves. Arrest that woman, Dr. Valencia. Immediately, the room erupted into controlled chaos. The bang of the furious judge's gavel was both an order and a release of the tension that had frozen everyone. The two security guards who'd subdued Tmane now dragged him to a chair. Tmane wasn't screaming anymore. He was simply gasping, his eyes frantic, his expensive suit soaked in sweat. He knew it was over. At the back door, another commotion. Valencia, in panic, couldn't open the large door the judge had just ordered closed. She pulled the handle, pushed, in vain. A female officer intercepted her quickly. Valencia collapsed to the floor. Her professional mask had completely fallen. She was no longer the calm, convincing psychologist. She was just a scared woman, crying hysterically, exactly the image she had used in the photos to frame me. Karma had arrived, swift and cruel. Bring her here, ordered the judge, his voice cold and unforgiving. Officers dragged the sobbing Valencia to the front, sat her in the witness stand, which now felt like the defendant's bench. Across the room, Tmane's lawyer, Attorney Cromwell, looked like a melting wax doll. His face pale, his tie crooked. He no longer looked at the judge. He looked at the stack of papers in front of him without an answer. His career and reputation had been destroyed in an instant by a video from a child's broken tablet. He knew he was implicated. He might not have known about the affair, but he knew about the manipulated photo evidence and the testimony prepared to frame me. I was still sitting, watching the scene like a movie. My sobs had calmed, replaced by a frozen shock. Beside me, Attorney Abernathy gave a gentle pat on my back, but his eyes were fixed on the judge, ready for the final blow. Zaria stood silently next to the clerk. She was a center of calm in the storm. She only watched her mother, as if making sure I was okay. The judge took a deep breath, smoothed his robe. He looked at Tmane, at Valencia, then at Attorney Cromwell. Mr. Tmane, he began, his voice quiet but terrifying. That video is the property of your daughter and was recorded in your own home. Do you still want to insist that it is manipulated? Tmane raised his head, his face empty. She set me up, he muttered. It was a last pathetic attempt. That woman, Valencia, planned everything. She seduced me. Hearing this, Valencia screamed immediately. Liar. You told me to do it. You told me you would marry me. You told me you would transfer all the money to my account. I did all this for you. Silence. The judge banged his gavel again. Both are the same. Your confessions have already been recorded in the court record. The judge turned to Valencia. Miss Valencia, you sat on this stand under oath and gave false testimony. You used your professional credentials to destroy a mother's life and aid in a crime. You not only violated your code of ethics, but you committed perjury before this court. The judge looked at Attorney Cromwell. And Attorney Cromwell, did you know, or should you have suspected, that the evidence you presented, including this testimony, was false? You tried to provoke the witness in the last trial to fit your client's false narrative. You have disgraced this profession. I will have the Ethics Committee revoke your law license. Attorney Cromwell bowed his head, unable to speak. Finally, the judge looked at Tmain. His gaze was so piercing it seemed to flay the man alive. Mr. Tmain, you entered this courtroom demanding justice. You accused your wife of failure, accused her of instability, demanded her assets, and most heinous of all, demanded to separate a child from her mother. The judge lifted Tmain's lawsuit file and held it up. Let's review your lawsuit first. The accusation that the wife failed and neglected the home. He ripped a sheet from the file and threw it to the floor. Proven false. The video just demonstrated that you conspired to defame her. He threw a second sheet. Second, the accusation that the wife was financially irresponsible and wasteful. Proven false. The video is a confession that you stole money from your joint account and transferred it to your mistress's account. This isn't just defamation. It is theft. He threw a third sheet. Third, the accusation that the wife was emotionally unstable, backed by false expert testimony, proven as a blatant scheme. The video proves you conspired to provoke your wife, record her in secret, and use it to deceive this court. He threw the third sheet. Your entire lawsuit, the judge's voice rose, is a pile of garbage based on lies, greed, and adultery. The court dismisses entirely the divorce petition presented by Mr. Tmain. The gavel struck hard, but the judge wasn't finished. He looked at Attorney Abernathy and me. The court will not stop here. Based on this new, irrefutable evidence, the court rules to protect the victim. 1. The judge raised a finger. Full custody of the minor's area is granted unconditionally to her biological mother, Mrs. Nala. I gasped. The tears now flowing were of relief. I looked at Zaria. 2. Continued the judge. Mr. Tmain's divorce suit has been dismissed. However, the court suggests that Mrs. Nala file a countersuit right now. Mrs. Nala, do you wish to divorce your husband? Attorney Abernathy whispered something. I, with a trembling but firm voice, looked directly at Tmain, who was now defeated, his head bowed. Yes, Your Honor. I demand a divorce right now. Good, exclaimed the judge. The court grants the divorce to Mrs. Nala on the grounds of adultery and fraud by the husband. Full custody to Mrs. Nala. 3. The judge stood up. Now, all assets in the name of Mr. Tmain and Miss Valencia will be frozen immediately. The court orders a full investigation to trace all funds stolen from Mrs. Nala. The house currently occupied is declared total property of Mrs. Nala and Zaria. And 4. The judge's voice now resonated throughout the room. Based on the video evidence and the confessions in this room, I order the immediate arrest of Mr. Tmain and Miss Valencia for multiple criminal offenses, including conspiracy to commit fraud, perjury, domestic theft, and tampering with evidence in a court of law. Take them away. The security guards immediately handcuffed Tmain. The man who had entered that morning with arrogance was now led out, head bowed. He walked past me, not daring to look me in the eye. Valencia was also handcuffed. Her screams dried up, leaving only a puffy, messy face. She was dragged away, her career and her freedom gone. I was still sitting, trembling. Attorney Abernathy smiled from ear to ear. We won, Nala. We won. I couldn't speak. I simply stood up and walked slowly toward the center of the room. Zaria ran toward me. I knelt and hugged my daughter tightly, as if hugging my savior. I cried on her small shoulders, not tears of sadness, but tears of a mother saved by her little heroine. The aftermath of Judgment Day spread like wildfire. The story of the broken tablet made headlines everywhere. The story of the greedy husband, the fake psychologist, and the 7-year-old heroine dominated local news for weeks. The first few weeks were a blur for me and Zaria. Attorney Abernathy took care of everything. By order of the judge, all of Tmain and Valencia's assets were frozen. The investigation proved Tmain had transferred nearly $1 million to Valencia's account over the last year. All the money was seized and returned to my new account. The big, cold house was now officially mine. But I couldn't stay there anymore. Too many bad memories, too many shadows of Tmain and Valencia in every corner. With Abernathy's consent, I sold the house. The proceeds were more than enough to start a new life. The punishment for the villains was swift and severe. Given the overwhelming evidence, Tmain was sentenced to 12 years in prison for fraud, theft, and perjury. Valencia, whose psychologist credentials turned out to be real but criminally used, was sentenced to 8 years, and her license to practice was permanently revoked. The cunning attorney Cromwell was immediately disbarred by the Ethics Committee and faced criminal charges for his participation in the conspiracy. Karma had been paid in full. 3 months after that judgment day, the laughter of children filled a small green park. I, with the weight of worry gone from my face, smiled as I watched Zaria on the swing. We hadn't moved to a big house, but to a modest, cozy 3-bedroom apartment. It was full of photos of the two of us and smelled of cookies I had baked. I'd started a small catering business from home. My culinary skills, which Tmain always belittled, were now praised by many. Orders poured in. I was busy, tired, but happy. I was independent. "Mommy, look." Zaria ran toward me, her hands dirty with soil. "The flowers are going to bloom soon." I smiled, stroking her short hair. Wow, my daughter is very good at planting things. We sat side by side for a while, enjoying the afternoon sun. There was a question I hadn't had the chance to ask calmly. "Princess," I began softly. "Can I ask you something?" "What, Mommy?" Zaria looked at me with clear eyes. "The video on the old tablet. Why? Why did you record it?" Zaria was silent for a moment, as if remembering. "Because I didn't like Auntie Valencia." "Why didn't you like her?" "Auntie Valencia pretended to be nice. Smiled at Mommy and talked to you at the mall. But when Mommy went to the bathroom, she told Daddy, 'Your wife takes too long.' And in the park too. She saw me, but she told Daddy that Mommy wasn't watching me. But Mommy was watching me." I was amazed. My little daughter was a sharp observer. "And that night," Zaria continued, "Daddy said he was working late, but I heard his car come back. I wanted to show Daddy my new drawing. But when I went down, I saw Daddy come in with Auntie Valencia. Daddy hugged her right away. I got scared, so I hid behind the flower pot. So I recorded there. Yes, I used the old tablet to record. I remembered Mommy said that if there are bad people, there must be proof, and I had the old tablet with me." My heart warmed. I had forgotten I had said that. "But Princess," I asked again, this was the most important question. "Why didn't you tell Mommy? Why did you keep it a secret?" Zaria interrupted herself in a low voice. "Daddy said Mommy shouldn't know." I frowned. "Daddy told you that?" "Yes. In the video, Daddy told Auntie Valencia, 'My wife is stupid. She won't know.' Zaria thought it was a big secret because Daddy said Mommy shouldn't know, so I kept it. I didn't want Daddy to get mad if Mommy found out. It was the pure logic of a child. She had aggravated her father's crime, but she had kept it secret because her own father had told her her mother shouldn't know. So why did you show it in court?" "Because the judge was going to take Zaria away from Mommy. Daddy said Mommy was bad. And Auntie Valencia also said Mommy was bad. And that's not true." Zaria had tears in her eyes. "I don't want to be separated from Mommy. Mommy isn't bad. Mommy is the best mom. So I had to show the judge that Daddy and Auntie Valencia are the bad ones." I couldn't hold back anymore. I hugged Zaria tightly, crying tears of pure joy. For all that time, I had suffered Tmain's accusations that I was a failed mother. I had doubted myself, felt destroyed. But before me was the strongest proof that I hadn't failed. I had raised an incredible daughter. A pure, sharp girl who could distinguish truth from falsehood. A brave girl with the courage to act alone to protect her mother. A girl with a pure sense of justice. "Thank you, Princess," I whispered into her hair. "Thank you for saving me." Zaria hugged me back. "I love you, Mommy." "I love you too, Zaria." I undid the hug and looked at my daughter's bright face. Finally, I understood. I had never failed. I had just been raising a heroine, and now both of us were free for a new beginning.